Hey guys, welcome to Traditional Bow Hunting Wilderness Podcast. Jason Samkovic here. Couple little details for you, little things that go a long way when it comes to some tips for your bows, especially for your traditional bows when you're hunting out there, and a few extra little bonus tips, just some random stuff for you. First of all, on here, when you shoot a traditional bow and you use a rubber grip like I do, having that string keeper or that arrow keeper on there, we've been doing this for many years. You take a stick and you put it in the rest like that, or in your grip, and what it does is it's going to hold that on there, so when you have your bow hanging in a tree, it's not going to fall off. You can see that on there, okay, right there, and it works fantastic. However, now that I'm down in Georgia, I'm noticing a lot of the trees, especially these loblolly and these pines that I'm getting into, I don't have the access of breaking a branch off. There's no branches there for me to get to do that to, or they're way too big. So what I started doing here is I started propping my own, okay, and having them with me. So if I need them, so if I can get a stick and I can find one to break off and use that off of a branch, I'm gonna just take a piece of twig, roll down your grip here, and then just slide it right in, and it works perfect. And then when you're ready to shoot, as I grab that, I got deer coming in, all I got to do is just pull that out and drop it, and it's good. You can even shoot. I've practiced and tested. You can shoot with this stick in there, and it makes no difference. It's not going to affect the arrow flight. So it's, it doesn't cause much issue in flight there. But you can either pull it out, or you can just take your finger and push it down out of the way like I just did there. See how it just disappeared? So you got two choices. You can either pull it out all the way and just throw it, or you can push it down. So it's there, you grab it. When you're ready to shoot, either yank it out or just push it down into the grip so it's out of the way. Now you can shoot. When you're done, you need to pull another arrow or one up, you can. But when I first started doing this, I didn't think of using sticks. That was an afterthought. I was using pieces of zip tie to do this with, because the zip ties would roll up and down in there real easy. Well, now again, we're kind of going back to that because I don't have the luxury of always having twigs available. So if you notice right here, I have 3 pieces of zip tie just wedged in there. So I can take one of these. It's just sitting right here in my little, right there. They're just sitting in there, but now I have a piece of zip tie that I can put in there that does the same exact thing and now acts as an arrow keeper to keep that arrow from falling off. When it's up there in the wind, it's not going to come, it's not going to lose my arrow. It doesn't come all the way off. So that's what we're after. It just sits in that rubber grip. Same thing. If I want to, when I'm ready to shoot, I can just take my finger and push that down out of the way, and now it's good to go. I could even leave one in there and leave it there all the time. Problem is I hunt a lot of wet weather and I don't want water getting in behind that grip. Even though it would just come right out, I just still would rather not have it in there, and I don't like the feel of that on my hand right there, knowing that's in there. But for that one shot, it's not a big deal. But now you have an arrow keeper on there, and you can just drop it down out of the way when you're ready. But the advantage to it is, for me, is with doing it this way, because I do not always have access to sticks, I have a place right here behind that rubber strap. Now you could, if you don't have this, if you're not using a strap-on quiver like I am, you could also take this and shove it right up into your hood foam right here and have them in your hood foam and have them available for you too. For me, it's just quick and easy to just wiggle them right into there and have them sitting right there out of the way, not being a problem, but always being accessible for me when I don't have that luxury of having a little twig, which I already threw, but having that little twig sitting there. Now, another thing too, you want to check your draw length on here on an arrow. A lot of people, I got to have somebody measure it, that kind of stuff. You can do that too, but you can also take a piece of Post-it note, something of this nature kind of thing, and what you're going to do is just grab your arrow here and just poke that right into your arrow. So it's on there. Poke a hole through it, push it down the shaft like this. Then I kind of fold it over so it points towards my bow, like so. Okay, so you have that on there this way, right here like that. Now, when I take my arrow, or I put my arrow on my bow, and I set that, what I want to do is make sure that that is angled sideways to my riser, so that it's going to bump right here. So when I have that on there, I can take my tab, I can take this, set it up, and when I draw, that is going to stop at the place of my last draw. So you can see that sitting on there. So when I take this and I draw this hang on, where's Dylan at? He's out here somewhere. I don't want to point a bow at him. Hang on, all right, there he's safe. Okay, so when I draw, that is going to bring this, the riser is going to stop that. So when I bring it back and I draw this, see how it goes right to where my drawing is right there? Now when I let it down, all I have to do is get my measuring tape and I can measure the distance from this spot right here to the throat of my nock, and it tells me my draw length right on there from here to there. And I can keep repeatedly checking that and doing it over and over again. Just slide it down, put it on my bow right here like that. Like I said, I like to make sure it's vertical to that, so I set it like that. Now as I draw that, it's going to check that for me. It's going to stop that right at that draw point right there, and that tells me what my actual draw length is on that shaft. He's in the shed, Bell. But that'll show me exactly where I'm at and where I'm drawing to. So simple little tip for you on there. Another tip, something easy that you can do that I do all the time. Now I set mine up that way with a red, but I also drew it on here for you. So I take my judo arrow, which I always carry a judo with me. Judo tips are amazing. If you don't carry a judo tip with you when you're practicing, you're crazy. Let me get my face out of there so it focuses. But judos are awesome for stump shooting. But if you notice on mine, when I set it up, now I'm just a smidge short right now, but I set my red rings right here is basically to be where I want for my brace height, okay? But now, so you can do that. You can also, because I am again a touch short at the present time, see how I have this black ring right there? When you look at that at the edge, that tells me that I am actually running my brace height correct. If that is too far, then I got too much brace height. If that's too short and sticking out and that black ring is out, I have too little brace height. So it's a brace height check marker indicator for you, whether you do it with that or you do it with your rings or anything you can on there. That way I never have to guess and wonder if my brace height is out, especially shooting Dacron. I put that on and I can look at that and see by that ring right there and go, oh, I'm a little bit short on my brace height. I need to, I need to give I need to give 2 twists to that string to bring that, so it's right there like that. Just a smidge difference, but that's an easy way to have a brace height checker. Just leave it right on your practice arrow, your judo arrow. Also, if you shoot a tab, okay, I take my tab and I put it on my judo arrow, and I put it in my quiver. And this is what keeps my tab with my bow all the time. So I never not have it. This is how my tab rides on my bow 100% of the time. Just rides on my judo, sits there, can slide around, whatever. But anytime I grab my bow, I don't ever worry about if I have my tab or not. It is always hanging right there on my judo. When I want it, I just pop the back of my judo, push it back in, slide my tab right off the bottom of it. There's my tab, always ready to roll. These are my neat pinch frees. I've been shooting these for about 15 years. I really like these tabs, but that way it's always there. When I'm done hunting at the end of the day, pull the judo out, stick it over the tip, put it in your quiver, and you never lose that tab. It's always in there and set and locked in. So another quick little tip for you. Also, when you do your bow tip protectors, we do not want water to get in and settle in these things. So they come really long. If you put that on and the string is going to hold it open, water is going to pool in the bottom of that. So I cut my bow tip protectors so that they seal tightly around the bottom of that and do not go up where they're going to open up and let water get in there. I like a bow tip protector on there. I always have. But that seems to be, for me, the best way to do it is to cut them short enough so that they're not going to be long and held open and let water get in behind them. I want them left loose like that. So a couple little tips for you. Another tip is to make sure that in your hunting truck you have a spare parts bag. In this bag, I have everything I could need. Spare batteries, battery chargers, I have spare bowstrings, spare rubber gloves, I have more Havalon blades, I have 2 more game bags inside of here, I have a spare arrow Altoids tin with 2 broadheads that are sharp and taped and ready to go. I have, you know, Knox, super glue, everything you could think of needing is somewhere inside of here. Spare bug spray, but everything is here, and this just rides in my truck. So as I go out and hunt for a day, say I'm out pig hunting for the day, and I need something, or I kill animals and I got to go back and track them at night, I know that I can come back to this kit and grab extra batteries, grab anything I need. If I shoot my arrows, say I shoot twice and miss 2 pigs and I have to resharpen arrows, I don't have to. I can just come back to my truck, pull the 2 spare broadheads out of this and use those and replace the ones that I have on my other arrows just by taking the arrow, spin the head off, put the new one on, and I now have arrows ready to go again. If I break a knock or snap a knock off, I can put in a new knock. If I have a feather it gets ripped off, I have super glue in there, I can re-glue that. So that one little bag does everything I need for me. I also, in the bed of my truck, especially during pig season, I'm carrying a whole nother quiver. I have another Great Northern quiver, just like this, that has 5 arrows in it. It's got 4 broadheads and another judo, and it's just strapped right on top of my cooler under my tonneau cover. But that way I always have extra arrows with me too. A lot of the places I'm hunting, they're 2 hours away from my house. So having those extra arrows, if I'm out there for the whole day, like I said, pig hunting, it can be a whole nother world. And you're on the ground and you're in the swamps and it's wet, and if you shoot and miss, you may never find your arrow again. So having that luxury of having extra arrows with you is a good thing. Taking, and then by doing it the way I'm doing it, by putting that square, that whole quiver in there, if I were to mistakenly rip a strap or break a strap on my quiver, I have a spare. If I accidentally stepped on this or something and bent the frame, or it was ruined, I couldn't bend it back or make it work, I have a spare. Anything that happens, I have spare parts, because I have a whole nother quiver and a whole nother 5 arrows in there. Now notice my arrow is 6 arrows. If you count those, there are actually 6 arrows in a 5 arrow quiver. The Great Northern quiver, I've done videos on this in the past, but I'll hit it again here. The Great Northern quiver, by design, has this little notch setup right here. So I'm going to pop that out. See this little pocket right here? Right in between the rubber on the bar and this right there. You can see that little pocket right here, this little notch. Okay, well, when you put a piggybacker, which is what this little thing is right here, when you put one of them in and you stick this in there, it locks that arrow into that little notch so perfectly that it does not move at all. Okay, so by doing that, I now have one more place for another arrow. Gives me 6 arrows completely spread out, and all I had to do is redo my hood foam to accommodate 6 arrows in there. But so I carry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 broadheads and a judo, so I actually have 6 arrows. Oops, sorry, and you can see that they spread out nice and they work perfectly. But by having, I've been doing this now for about 10 years. I have videos on this, but the Great Northern quiver, the way that wire bar is, and that is, it is perfectly shaped for a piggybacker to fit, as you can see it right here, from that arrow to that arrow, and keep that from moving and keep that rock solid steady, and have that right there. So it gives me a 6 arrow quiver out of a 5 arrow setup. So just another little tip for you. Also, while we were talking on the rubber grip, rubber grips are amazing, especially down here in the south, but I've been using them way longer than that. But a rubber bicycle tube grip is impervious to DEET, chemicals, sweat, water. It dries instantly. Everything about them is fantastic. Leather is good. Leather is traditional. Leather is an amazing thing. But for me, rubber grips, that's all I've used for the last 20 years, is a rubber bicycle tube grip. And with gloves, without, doesn't matter. You always have that rock solid tight grip on your bow. Even if there's snowy or wet, cold, it doesn't matter. It's just, I'm a huge fan of a rubber grip. These are bicycle inner tubes. They are nothing fancy. They are nothing special. I think most of the bows the size I use the most is a 1.75 to 2.25 size bike tube. But they work fantastic, and they last about 10 years before you have to replace them. So they do absolutely awesome. And then the last tip for you, again, one that I've also mentioned, kind of a bonus one. I like to change my hood foam out from black to being either a white, which is very hard to find now, or going to a light gray, something where it's easier to see. So in the dark, when I'm sitting there and I'm done and it's pitch black out and I have to put my arrow away, I can take my arrow and I don't have to fight to find it. You can see how well that hole stands out in that quiver. See how nice and obvious that hole is? It's a black hole and white. So it's very easy, and you can see exactly where my blades align. Notice there's no other cuts in it other than exactly where those blades go all the time anyway. That is because I can see that hole perfectly, drop my arrow right in it, and I am set. Works fantastic. Also, another tip you will notice on here is on this quiver, let me spin that, we have these pieces of bicycle tube between each of them right there. Just runs between them. What that is doing for me is just giving me a little more bite to hold my arrows in there a little bit better. It is just pieces of thin bicycle tube here that you can see. And I just loop them between these two and between these two, and okay, and it just, all it's doing is giving me a little more snug bite for my arrows. So this way there's less of that where I shoot 6 shots and then my arrows are like slid out like this, you know, where they're where they're down, where that, you know, where they start dropping down out of the quiver. That doesn't happen because I have those extra little rubber bands on there. They just bite real well. Selway has the best grippers I've ever seen. Selway quivers never really seem to slide. These do on occasion, but now keep in mind this gripper's probably 5 years old, 6 years old, so it's probably time to be replaced. But those little rubber bands were a fantastic addition to be able to make that. Again, trying to get my head out of there. But that will make those, extend the life of that gripper if you don't want to buy another one. So just a couple little tips for you, a few little pieces of ideas, things that you can hopefully use for you. And thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.